Hey everyone, today is March 26th, and today the market closed up very strong for the day and for the week. Before we begin, please read this disclaimer. And you can pause this video as you read it, by the way. Okay, so the market closed today, the Dow up to 453 points, the S&P up 65 points, and the Nasdaq up 161 points. So what happened? So basically, 2 days ago, I talked about how I wanted to see the price come down to this 50-day simple moving average and push up higher, and that's exactly what happened, right? I talked about how we had a similar pattern over here and over here, where we held the 50-day simple moving average on the daily chart very strong, and we continue to move up higher, right? I talked about how this price action is basically just the usual price action that you would see in a bull market, right? Taking the elevators up, up, down, up, down, up, down, slowly up and down, right? Like we do in a bull market, whereas in a bear market or in a market crash, the market tends to take the escalators or the elevator down, sorry. And so we're just grinding higher slowly, right? Give and take, give and take. And now that we've completed what I believe is the take portion or the pullback portion, now we're bouncing off these moving averages, and I think we're going to hit all-time highs, new all-time highs next week. And yeah, let's look at the indicators, oscillators. We're starting to see more bullish, positive momentum. These lines, we want to see them cross next week, and that's going to give us more energy to push up higher, right? Because right now, the MACD is in a downtrend, and so we want to try to cross this and push it up and change the direction. And also, we look at the histogram on the MACD. We finally printed a positive, or not positive, a light red on the histogram bar, and we want to see this flip into a solid green candles, or solid green bar, sorry, into next week, and that's going to give us more momentum to push higher. Now looking at the RSI also looking strong. We had a strong support level here, and I thought that the RSI would come down and actually bounce off, but it seems like instead we're making higher lows on the RSI, which is just as good, if not better. And I expect this to push up the price action to push up on the chart and push up the RSI into around this cluster. And that's going to give us a lot of room for the price to push up even higher into all-time highs next week. And what I'm also looking for in the short term is for us to finally break through 400. We haven't tested 400 yet, right? But I'm hoping that next week we can test it, break through, perhaps pull back, and continue higher, right? And of course, after a surge to new all-time highs, we should see a pullback, perhaps retest the 50, and that's something that I want to be surprised by. And I've also talked about this in the past, how if you look closely, we're bouncing off the 50, which is a silver moving average, right? And so once in a while, we'll come down hard and we'll have something what we call, this is a pullback, right? This is a dip. This is a correction, right? These are like 10% correction, 10% moves, right? Down to the gold line, which is the 100 simple moving average on the daily chart. And historically, we've seen the market do that, right? In 2017, which is one of the best years in the market, one of the lowest, least volatile years in the market, we saw the price action pull back to the 50-day simple moving average several times as we headed higher. And also 2013, 2014, we saw the market pull back to the gold line, the 100-day simple moving average, several times, right? This is the natural movement of the markets, right? The market doesn't just go straight up, doesn't go in a smooth line. There's going to be pullbacks every now and then, right? And the last time we had a pullback to the gold line, of course, was back in September and October. And this is natural. This is natural movement in the market. So just remember like how much fear there was in the market. But if you bought the fear, you would have made out really well, right? Instead of buying up here and chasing the market, right? So that's basically it for the markets in terms of, like, for me, I'm very optimistic and positive in terms of where the market's headed. I think that we're going to continue to grind higher. Of course, the natural movement in the market's going up, down, but we're going to make new all-time highs going into the remainder of the year. So before we move on, let's talk more about how the Dow and the Nasdaq perform. We also talked about in the previous videos how there's been a rotation from tech stocks into value stocks because treasury yields have been rising and the dollar has been strengthening, right? So we've seen a lot of strength in the Dow, just really ripping and outperforming the S&P and the Nasdaq over the past few weeks. Of course, the NASDAQ is the weakest of all the three, which, usually we see the NASDAQ lead, right? And I think that's going to come. And NASDAQ will eventually reclaim its place as the leader of the three. As I think that, right now the tech stocks, I think, are a little bit undervalued and oversold. I'm starting to see some strength, right? People are coming in and buying these dips, right? See what's happening. Higher lows right now, right? W pattern. That's what we want to see. Higher lows cultivating to higher lows and higher highs. We want to see this come up and make another higher low and a higher high. And that's going to tell us that the trend is actually on the upside instead of on the downside if we continue to go lower and make lower lows and lower highs, right? Classic technical analysis. Another thing I like is on the weekly chart on the S&P, we've closed a hammer this week. The week just closed a couple minutes ago, and a bullish hammer is always very positive and bullish in terms of the direction of the trend, which, in my opinion, it just signals that the buyers have stepped in. Because what a bullish a bullish hammer candle basically is the price once down, but the bulls came back and pushed the price higher, and we closed here at the top of the candle, right? And so this is suggesting that the trend will continue up. And so yes, again, I am expecting new all-time highs within the next week or two. Same thing with the Dow. Let's go to Dow. This one looks even better because, we had a very bearish weekly close last week, which is like sort of a small shooting star. Well, not necessarily shooting star, but something like a evening star, right? So this was nullified because we had a hammer close today. So I expect us to go higher. The NASDAQ finding support. Again, we talked about how this is higher lows, right? And so we want to see this continue and make higher lows and higher highs. Now let's look at the VIX. The VIX actually pushed down today and closed the gap a little bit more. Like I said in previous videos, I am expecting the VIX to take the remainder of the year to close this gap that we started in March of last year due to the coronavirus pandemic market crash. So yeah, expect a little bit. See how the VIX likes to go sideways. It likes to tease us, right? The market doesn't just go straight up. There's going to be times where the volatility rises and the market pulls back a little bit. But like I said, you take those time to buy this dip, buy the fear, and that usually will reward you, right? I mean, just look at the general direction of UVXI, which is the ETF that tracks the VIX, and it's just on the downtrend. So I'm expecting more positive price action going into the future. Of course, the dollar has been very strong, which has been putting some pressure on the markets, right? But in the last session, we've seen the dollar start to pull back a little bit. But whether or not we're going to follow 2018 and push up higher, we're going to have to wait and see. And I'll definitely follow up in the future videos and talk about that. Yields have been pulling back a little bit as I predicted. I said that in a previous video that I wanted to see us pull back a little bit. Even if this continues higher, it's very overbought right now, so we should see it pull back, and that should take some pressure off stocks, especially tech stocks, which have been hit really hard, right? So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic about the markets going forward. I do think that we can have an environment where high yields and high stock market prices can coexist. And like I said in a previous video, I do think that rising yields is not necessarily a bad thing for the stock market in that it can keep the bull market in check, right? I want to see us in a healthy bull market hug these moving averages as we've seen in the past. The market, when it detaches, when it goes up too high too quickly, it tends to it's like a rubber band. It just wants to snap back, right? It wants to snap back and hit those moving averages again. And when it goes down to below too much, it wants to snap back and break above those moving averages, right? But as long as we move along these moving averages, once in a while coming back and touching it, right? I expect us to continue higher, right? Because these moving averages, it not only tells us a trend, but it helps keep the market in check, right? So just to summarize, I am bullish on the market going forward. I think the daily and the weekly, the monthly also looks really great. Everything looks great so far on the mid to longer term. yeah, so I'll definitely follow up next week as we get more news and more price action development, and hopefully we start to hit new all-time highs. Hopefully we can get the S&P above 4,000, and from there just be price discovery. So anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you found it useful or helpful, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for updates.